Oh, God, most of my viewers are Yanks, so they're going to misunderstand a lot of that we're just about to talk about. I feel like for this episode, though, because it's obviously about the Ashes, we should probably do a special kind of intro, you know? Welcome to Live Listener Age, people. This is a very special episode that we have for you, the listeners, and the Chili Con Carnage crew. Of course, we have Tom here. Tom, how are you today?
Pretty good, thanks. Yeah.
This is my terrible...
Ep9 not out.
As I'm recording this, people, we are actually recording this during the middle of the test, and it is an Ashes-themed episode. We are doing a very special episode of Live Listener Raised. We have, of course, the Aussies, ever victorious, and the English over here. We are going to be doing a special list of bands. We're going to be picking the English bands and, of course, the Aussie bands for this episode. Oh, gosh. Tom, being a Pom, I do have to ask you. You know the question that's coming. What did you think of the stumping?
Oh, the stumping. I didn't actually really see it, to be honest, so I can't really provide a measured opinion. I'd probably be biased, of course.
Of course.
So, yeah, of course.
Of course, damn you. I tell you what, it's the stumping that's happened and been heard around the world. Several Facebook pages have just been running rampant. Even yours and my Prime Minister have weighed in. It has been such an important stumping. For the Yank fans out there, a stump, we're talking about cricket here, of course. It's basically the baseball of the rest of the world. So, you know, catch up. But yes, a stumping is when you get out. And it was a bit of a controversial outing, if you will. Stumping, I should say. But of course, that's why I've got my zinc on for today and this episode of the Ashes. So, I'm very keen. I tell you what, I was going over our last episode, Tom. I have to tell you, I listened to Baroness. I listened to the Purple album. Wasn't a big fan of it, but I did listen to the new single. And it fucking is awesome.
Good.
Yes.
So you're maybe being converted over to Baroness a bit then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I listened to the Red album. Amazing. And then I think it's Yellow and Gold. And loved it. Good stuff. Good stuff by Baroness.
Yeah.
For those of you who are unaware, Tom had a very good list on the last episode, which had Mastodon, Gojira, and Baroness for the list. Make sure to check that one out as well. It was a fantastic list. That was a very difficult... It haunts my mind to this day.
Yeah. I think we both gave each other pretty tough ones.
Oh, yeah.
Really tough ones.
Always the case with this game. It always just brings it out and you're thinking, oh gosh, this is the worst thing that I could ever think of. I don't want to erase any of these bands, but alas, here we are. So, Tom, you are the guest on this channel. I will lay the chance to pick your bands first. What terrible selection have you made for me?
I've gone to the south of England for all three of my bands.
Oh.
So we've got Sleep Token.
Oh, yeah.
London. Okay, as the first pick, a band who are extremely popular. They've taken off this year with their latest release, Take Me Back to Eden.
Yes.
Which was very, very much hype. They had a lot of hype behind that one. Then I've got, as my second choice, I've got Architects, a leading light in the UK metalcore scene for quite a long time. They've been around now for nearly about 20 years since they formed.
Has it been 20 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Architects. And they've had quite an interesting evolution as well, which we'll talk a bit about probably quite soon. And lastly, my third choice is Sylosis. And there's a bit of a thread between all three bands. Sylosis are a UK... they started off as metalcore, but they are a bit sort of thrashy and I'd say have a bit of Melodeath influence in some of their stuff as well. So that they've got sort of a few different colours to their music. And yeah, another interesting band to add to this trio.
Yeah, that's a big mix of bands there. Also, okay, so Sleep Token, what was it? Sylosis was the third one there, and it was Architects, wasn't it? Architects, yes. Ooh, that's a sharp one. You got some interesting picks to be made here. And I'm interested to hear about the connection between the three, because Sylosis I'm not very familiar with. Architects and Sleep Token, yes, but not the third one, not necessarily. So I'm intrigued to run through this list. I guess, let's start with Sleep Token, I guess, because it's the most... Yep, they've just done their new album, which I wasn't a big fan of, to be honest. I don't know about you, but I don't know. Everyone's been talking about them, hyping them up, and there's just been this cloud of they're the next best thing. And
I know.
It's just a shame. Like, I don't know. Is it the same over in England though? With Sleep Token.
Yeah, I think so. I think they've got. I mean, they're doing the whole anonymity thing that Ghost had done and Slipknot did in their early days, where they hide their sort of kind of real identities, and they have this sort of weird kind of aesthetic to them as well, and this whole thing where they are worshipping this deity and have all of this kind of a gimmick around that, I think, and it's all very interesting stuff. A part of me wondered how much at first. I mean, I'll be honest. My instinct at first is this one of those bands who are just style over substance, and that was my sort of. I have slightly changed the view of them over the last few weeks, having delved a bit more into their previous catalogue or their previous album.
Yeah.
Because for me, Take Me Back to Eden has. I mean, it has a lot packed into it, but it's sort of there's a lot of the R&B style of his singing in that album, whereas the previous album I think has a bit more of the metal going on.
Yeah, okay.
As Take Me Back to Eden goes, it starts off quite heavy, but as Take Me Back to Eden goes on, there's all sorts of avenues into other types of music. I think, in particular, I think there is that sort of quite more poppy. There's certainly very modern production.
Oh yeah,
it's very glossy. It's super glossy, isn't it? And there's all sorts of modern stylings on that album. And to be honest, it those things and the fact that I'm just musically not so minded towards those styles put me off the album. It has grown on me a tiny bit, but when I checked out their previous album, This Place Will Become Your Tomb, I thought to myself, oh, this is actually really quite good. There's at least a half dozen tracks on that album that I thought, now this is a band I want to listen to.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean,
sorry.
So
it's just an interesting contrast, because I don't think there was a huge difference between the two albums as such, but the previous one I think just has heaviness and a general. I found the songs a bit less jagged and kind of all over the place with their structures. Like, I think they are a little bit strange on the songs on Take Me Back to Eden, where at the end of the song you suddenly get a completely different genre.
Oh yeah.
Whereas on the previous album, I feel like there's just more of a fluency in the songs.
Yeah, they kind of jump all over the place. It's almost like someone just hitting up a candy store high on a sugar rush or something. They crash and bang all over the place, and genres thrown in the mix, and it's kind of like chaos, I guess. Which I don't mind in certain instances, but the whole album just sounded like chaos at some points. The recent one, I should say, Take Me Back to Eden. I mean, if I'm being honest, I really did not like the album Take Me Back to Eden. And
Do you
anyone,
know what? I saw your review. I'd chosen this band, when we were talking about it. And then I saw your review yesterday, and I thought, oh, I think I know what he might think about about Sleep Token.
yeah, you might, yeah. If you've seen the review I've given on Sleep Token, I might almost give it away. But yeah, I really did not like the album. Everyone was hyping it up, saying you got to listen to it. You got to listen to it. You know, you'll love it. And it was purely for that reason that I delayed doing a review, because I'm like, this is hyped up so much. I just can't give it a fair and balanced review. But even when I came around to it, it sucks. It really does. That being said, though, yeah, there are 3 or 4 good tracks on here, and the Summoning. I mean, that's the first track I heard. That was like the first single, I'm pretty sure, as well. And that song kicks ass. I think that might be like in my top 10 songs of the year at the end of the year. But the album is definitely not going to be on my top 10 favorite albums. You know,
It's interesting because, I mean, I know Hector and John, or I should refer to them as their channels, really, shouldn't I? JC Rock and Metal Reviews and Childies on the Couch. Both enjoyed the album, and I do generally trust their tastes because we have a lot of similar tastes. And they've both kind of gotten into it, but I'm still just not quite there with Take Me Back to Eden. But it's interesting that their previous album has done something. You know, it's hit my buttons, which
yeah.
Well, Knock Me for 6, as this is Ashes themed. It's knocked me for 6.
Not bad. Not bad little work in on
I
there.
could do better, couldn't I? How's that?
How's that?
How's that? You got to do it with a bit more conviction. The how's that, haven't you? Like, how's that?
That's correct. You got to get that. We've got to work that one in. Yeah. Oh man, but I mean, I'm looking over. I don't know if I've really listened to their previous albums. I'm just looking at the the track list for This Place Will Become Your Tomb. I feel like I've heard the track Alkaline, but I'm not extremely familiar with it. And actually, interesting note, you were talking before about the aesthetics of the band. Obviously, the band wear masks, and they've got this whole imagery about them. It's very Ghost-esque even. You know, they kind of got that. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, maybe you might know the answer, but I believe their masks have kind of like risen over the last couple of albums. So it looks like they change every mask with every album, and it's like the masks were full on the first one. On the second album, I think it was this, and then it was like cracks in the mask on the most recent album. Do you know if that's the case, or you're unaware, or?
I'm probably not quite informed or knowledgeable enough about the band just yet to know. Be interesting though. Maybe they will reveal themselves eventually, like Ghost have, and or at least like Tobias has, and like Slipknot did as well. Okay. I mean, eventually they're going to be found out, aren't they? Who they are.
Oh, it tends to be the case. I mean, I'm trying to think of any masked singers out there that haven't had their identities known to the world, but you kind of struggle. I don't really think there's many.
It's difficult in the modern world as well.
You leave a digital footprint somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
you're going to be caught out in the end. That's for sure. Got to work that one in somewhere.
It'd be weird though if Vessel turned out to be someone you knew, wouldn't it? Like, because I live in London. If it was someone who stood next to me on the tube in the morning,
someone you went to school with, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Like, oh god.
Imagine that. Like, you'd be just catching up for. Okay, let's just say they're anonymity. They're still anonymous, and then you go to like a school reunion and like, what have you been up to the last couple of years? You know, not much, man. I'm just working the music field. Oh yeah, what do you do? Just. I want to know about it. Secretly, he's doing concerts where, they perform in Sydney and someone farts audibly loud enough to be heard on the video call. That was a ridiculous. You saw that footage, right?
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh my gosh, that fart was ridiculous. I couldn't believe that, and trust it to happen in my backyard. Of course, it happens in Sydney. Oh no. Alrighty then. So yeah, Sleep Token. I mean, look, I'm not a huge fan of. Obviously, you're a bit more won over than I am, and you would probably say This Place Will Become Your Tomb is maybe a better listen to.
I think for you as well, you'd probably enjoy that one a bit more. If you're more, if you want a bit more of the metal side of the band.
Okay,
There's still
interesting.
there's still quite a bit of pop on that album, but I think you'd still like. There's a track called High Water. Listen to that one. I think
Okay,
that is a chilly track.
yeah, I'll give that one a
That
shot for
is,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so let's see. What about we talk about Architects here for a minute? That's a band I haven't heard a name from in a while. A real red hot minute. 20 years, is that right? Oh, God.
Yeah, part of me was worried whether you would know them very well. I think they've been around since their debut album was 2006. I think they may have formed
Mm.
obviously a bit before then by the two brothers, Tom and Dan Searle. And depending on how well you know the band, most fans, well, all fans know pretty much that obviously Tom Searle passed away after their seventh album, All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us.
Ah,
And there was a change. And one of the links with these three bands, or at least between Architects and Sylosis, is Josh Middleton of Sylosis joined Architects to take over from lead guitar duties from Tom Soul, who passed away.
I feel like I
And
did
that
hear
happened in
about that.
about that happened about 2017, I think, before the release of their eighth album, Holy
Okay.
Hell.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like I do remember reading or hearing something about that. And I'm just looking through the albums here. Like, as I said, I'm not a huge. I'm not. It's been a while,
Yep.
but I do see here for those that wish to exist, and I do recall playing that album a bit. Black Lungs.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. There was a few tracks off that, and I also remember All Gods Have Abandoned Us. I'm looking at the album cover, going, "Hang on, it's it kind of looks like that Linkin Park one." It's, sorry, I just made the connection there. I'm like, hang on a second, this is a rip off of fucking Linkin Park. But no, yeah, I do remember someone that I used to work with. He was a big fan of Architects and would play their music a lot when I was working with him because, metalheads, we love each other's music, whatever. And definitely All Gods Have Abandoned Us got repeated a few times. I
Mm.
believe he saw them and a Aussie group. I think North Lane opened for them from memory. Yeah. So
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, but that was uh, before the passing of the guitarist. I believe it would have been around 2016, maybe earlier. So um, run me through here because I'm just struggling to go
Yeah,
through.
sure.
I think Lost Forever was another album as well that I have heard
That's
of.
right. Lost Forever, Lost Together from
Mm,
2014. So I mentioned at the very beginning about an evolution in their sound. So their first three albums were very influenced by sound of the Dillinger Escape Plan, for example.
mm,
So you know Dillinger, and they
yeah.
have this really sort of skittish kind of scatty guitar stuff and very technical. And their first three albums are like that, and it's sort of they became a bit more melodic metalcore after album number three,
Okay.
which is Hollow Crown, and Hollow Crown finishes with a couple of more melodic tracks, if I remember rightly. Incidentally, Hollow Crown is probably my favourite from Architects, next to All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us. I think those are my two favourite albums from the band.
Yeah.
And I was just before doing this episode, I was thinking, all my favourite Architects albums are their odd numbered albums. It's funny when you find that out with a band, isn't it? One of your favourite bands,
Oh yeah.
and you realise either their even numbered albums can sometimes be your odd number for albums. I don't know. I'm not really superstitious, but
We
I
always
just
look for
find that
numbers, though. We're always
you
looking
always
for the
look for
number.
coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Very true.
And yeah, so Hollow Crown, I really like that album, and that was the sort of last of that early era of them in that hardcore Dillinger Escape Plan type sound.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then they went quite, a real change for album number four, which was The Here and Now, and that came out in 2011. And the band did not like that album. It's one of those albums where the band doesn't like the album.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know really much about the background of this one actually, except I know that I think deliberately, the album after this one, Daybreaker, they went back to more of a heavier sound.
What is it? The
To
Saint
try
Anger
and
of their
balance them.
catalogue or something?
It's not that bad, and I think if this was on an episode of Is It That Bad, I'd save it.
Hmm.
It's a bit more basic, I think. You know, as an album with more
Uh,
familiar song structures and stuff. And there's a song on there where they did a video. I think it's called Heartburn. And the bands
you need an
apparently didn't like
antacid?
recording it. They said it made them look like Westlife.
Oh, oh
And
man.
if you watch it, it does look a bit like a boy band video. It's hilarious.
God damn it! All the
But the song itself isn't. I don't think the song itself is. I think it's okay. I can listen to it. Yeah,
oh god.
they said they didn't like that. I think maybe they were pressurized into it because if they didn't like it, then why did
Why
they
do
do
they do
it?
it? Yeah,
It must have been to do with commercial pressures, I imagine.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, it looks like they're all yeah, they're all Century Media. I don't get it. It doesn't look like they've changed record labels between the last couple of records there. So I don't
Yeah,
know. Heartburn. The only
but
thing I'm just thinking of is here's an antacid. All right, lads, let's get back to it. I don't even know what to think about that one. I've got to check that out though. The video clips, they look like Westlife, and it's not even a parody. Am I right?
it's not a parody. I don't think.
Oh,
Probably wish it
gosh.
was.
Have you ever been blacked out drunk where you just filmed a Westlife video clip with guitars? Oh
No.
no, that's just okay. I did they release two albums last year, or is this a re-release of some kind?
Oh, they released the classic symptoms of a broken spirit, I think, last year,
Yeah.
which I wasn't really too big on, to be honest.
Okay.
I thought
Okay.
it was okay.
Oh,
And interesting now, Josh Middleton is no longer with them, as well. So he's that may be to do with the fact that Sylosis are back in the swing of things now as well. Although I shouldn't really cast any aspersions. I don't know for sure why Josh has left them. But he's got an album coming out with Sylosis in September this year.
ooh, okay.
It's called A Sign of Things to Come. So
Interesting.
yeah,
I mean, unless he left on bad terms or something like that. Sounds like that Dream Theater's, a turn of unfortunate events type of thing.
yeah.
Sign of things to come. Watch out, guys. We're going to take over the architects here. That's just. Oh, okay. That's intriguing. Okay. So, I mean, like, I can't see too many other albums that I've listened to for all these guys. I think it's definitely two or three albums. Maybe even Daybreaker, but I might actually be getting that confused with another English band. Day Sleeper? Oh, shit. Hang on. I'm. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, it's definitely.
You've got me.
I'm definitely getting that
There are a lot
confused.
of metalcore bands out there. So
I know. pluck random words out of the instant the random word generator and it'll come to
yeah,
me. The shit thing is like as soon as I say the band, you're gonna go, how the hell did you forget that name? But Bring Me the Horizon.
oh yeah,
Yeah, how the hell did I forget that one? Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just not the biggest Bring Me the Horizon fan. Saw them live. Interesting. Not
yeah.
bad. Not bad. But Architects, I've definitely played a few of these songs, and I do distinctly remember they went bloody hard. I gotta say, like you said, the earlier stuff was more akin to Dillinger Escape Plan, and I think they did like chaotic mathcore back in the days, didn't they? Like
Yeah.
43. I can't think of the album, but I can picture the front cover of it. And I remember like people saying, "Oh, that's one of the best albums ever recorded in the 2000s or 90s or whatever the year was." And I went and listened to it, and I'm like, "This is shit." I'm, I don't mind a bit of Dillinger Escape Plan, but that album was just, I don't know, it was chaos.
Was that, so one of the early Architects albums? So Nightmares or Ruin or Hollow Crown?
No, sorry, I was talking about Dillinger Escape Plan and their
Dillinger. Oh, sorry.
yeah, one of their first albums, which is quite a famous album that I just cannot put my mind on. Sorry, I just have to calculate an infinity. Is the one that I was thinking of. A lot of people pluck it out and they're like, oh, "This is one of the best albums from the '90s," and I went around and listened to it and I was like, hey, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah, they're quite. Yeah, I mean, actually, I don't know too much of their material, to be honest.
Mm,
One of those bands that have always been there for me, and I've listened to only two or three of their albums. I liked the one that they brought out. I think it was their last album or from a few years ago.
mm.
And the name has gone from me from that, but I remember liking that a lot. That was an interesting album.
I definitely record a
I do
couple of
like
those.
Greg Puciato as a singer a lot as well. He's got a good voice.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, yeah,
yeah, he's got some stuff. Dissociation, or One of
yes,
Us is
that's
the Killer.
yeah, Dissociation.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I do distinctly remember from the songs that I've heard. I really did like Architects. They had a really solid sound to them. But I'm probably talking about their early 2010s albums to almost modern day, I'd say. So more their modern sound, interestingly enough. A lot of purists out there be like, the early albums, fuck the rest of them.
I think I like their sort of middle era a lot. So Daybreaker,
Mm,
All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us, Lost Forever, Lost Together. You mentioned. I
mm,
think those are maybe my favourites actually. But
mm.
I really like Hollow Crown from the early part of the discography.
Ah,
I love that album. That's a great album for me.
that's a
And
good
I
one.
remember it was actually an album I listened to when it came out, so it stuck with me over time.
Oh, nice one. Now tell me about this. The last one you said, was it
Okay.
Psychosis?
Sylosis. Yeah,
Sylosis.
Sylosis.
I thought you said
Yeah.
Psychosis, which is, I believe, some other band from America.
Yeah. Yeah.
PSY Losis
So
or
this is Sylosis.
SYLO. There you are. All
So
right. Yeah.
ask, do you know? If you don't know Sylosis, you're in for a treat. You are in for a treat.
I can honestly say I don't know Sylosis. Yeah.
That's well, that's great in a way because you're going to discover a really great band. I think they are anyway. Obviously, you'll make your own mind up.
Okay.
But yeah, one of my favourite bands, probably of the last 10 years since I discovered them. I've seen them live 3 times as well,
Wow.
um, and yeah, pretty good live band. And yeah, Josh Middleton heads up this band. He's the sort of main, I think, songwriter and guitarist. And obviously, as I mentioned, he sidestepped into Architects, and he had previously toured with Architects, I think, which was why he ended up stepping in when Tom Sol passed away back in the 2016 or 2017 when it was.
Okay.
Um, and they have not that many albums. They have 5 albums, a couple of really stellar EPs that they did in the 2000s called Casting Shadows and Supreme Oppressor. Those are great EPs. And their debut album, Conclusion of an Age, was 2008. And
Yep.
that was a bit of a metal. That was their most metalcore sounding album. You can hear a bit of that, yeah, that sort of classic metalcore sound on that album. Um,
Kind of like
but
Killswitch Engage.
a little bit, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. 2011's The Edge of the Earth is their magnum opus for me. That's the album that quite a few people probably know them for as well. If you know Sylosis, someone will probably say their favorite album is Edge of the Earth, and it's like this. It's quite a sprawling album, so it's almost a little bit. I don't know if it's to say it's proggy or not, but it's more progressive. There's quite long tracks on there. very thrashy. It's almost a sort of thrash metal type album.
Ooh.
But it has a lot of melody, a lot of atmospheric breaks. Um, and I couldn't really compare them to many other bands, and I think that means that they're quite unique. Um, and for me, that album it defined them a lot, and I think that's maybe their best one. And I have a couple on CD. I don't have them all on CD, sadly, but
In this day and
one
age,
which,
I'm surprised you
again,
have
you're not really
any.
going to see very well. But that was the next one. That's the third one, Monolith.
Yep.
And that, for me, is almost as good. It's actually slightly more, I think, condensed than The Edge of the Earth.
Okay.
So maybe I'm trying to think what might be good if you've not heard them as a first album. I actually think their 2020 album is the one you might want to check out first because it catches on quick. It's immediate. It's only about 50 minutes. There's a bit of glare.
Still got the rapping on it.
Got the rapping on it. That's why maybe I should take the rapping off. But yeah, Cycle of Suffering is their 2020 album.
Yeah, I just noticed.
And that's a good entry point because it's a bit, it's just packed full of riffs.
Oh, I love that, especially
You're a
when it comes to
guitarist
like.
guy, right? You're a guitar riff guy.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it when it comes to guitar
You should
riffs.
quite enjoy Cycle of Suffering.
Beautiful.
Um,
I'm looking at the album cover here as well. What is it? Empty. Seems like the big songs from here are Empty Prophets, I Sever, and Calcified seem to be the big hits from that one, or the most played, I should say.
Yeah.
Oh, Nuclear Blast. Yeah, they're a good record label. Oh, yeah. They know their thrash. Yep. They know their thrash.
Yeah, indeed. I think I would say, funnily enough, the singles are probably not my favourites from this one.
Okay.
It's a lot of the other tracks I enjoyed a bit more. The singles are good. I'd say the singles weren't good. But yeah, I can see it a bit better now. So yeah, there's some great. I don't know. He does a lot of really good shredding, but it's very melodic shredding. Again, if you think of some of those Scandinavian guitarists, maybe someone like Per Nilsson and the way he plays, Josh Middleton does these amazing sort of melodic, all that fancy finger work and really fast and and he's like super talented. In a way, I say this not to do Architects a disservice, but I was never sure that Architects were quite right for Josh because his style of playing is more suited to me, heavier, faster guitar playing styles of more, like melodic death and thrash styles. Whereas Architects for me may have just slightly restricted his ability. Because if you listen to an Architects album, then or maybe one of those more metalcore leaning albums, and then you listen to something like that, you'll hear the difference. And for me, there's a lot of depth to Sylosis albums as well. You can keep listening to them time and time again.
Okay.
And they're not super complex. I would say Sylosis. They're not like a technical death metal band or anything like that. I'd say they're a bit more thrash, and lots of good groove, lots of good hooks. Guitar riffs galore, guitar solos galore. A little bit some emotion in their music as well, which I never mind.
That's perfect.
Good.
Music without emotion just turns into an Yngwie Malmsteen record, after all.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, shit, you can be the most fastest technical guitar player out there, but at the end of the day, if you don't sound like you're playing it with emotion, it just sounds like crap. I've always said that about him.
Yeah.
Decent songs he does done. But anyway, I digress. I do love the... when I'm listening to music, I should say, I'm not really paying attention to lyrics. I'm mostly listening to the chops, the drums, the beats, the bass. So, from what you've described for me, they sound quite perfect for, I guess, some band that I would love to listen to. So, I'm definitely going to be listening to that one after this.
I hope it doesn't ruin the video too much.
Shouldn't be. Should be
Okay.
alright. We'll just I'll just do some clever editing, and by clever editing, I mean I'll just like a very rough cut, Bing pat. Yeah, so I love I I love the riffs and the melodies behind it. I don't really listen to lyrics when it comes to music. It's not at the forefront of my mind, I should say. I'm mostly listening to riffs. I'm loving the catchy parts of it, the drum beats, the bass, and all that. So Sylosis sounds like a perfect band for me, and Cycle of Suffering is as your recommendation. So I guess I'll be playing this album, after this is done and while I'm editing this video and whatnot. So, but that's interesting to hear about them. I mean, you mentioned they're a bit metalcore, but I mean, how else would you further describe Sylosis?
Um, Yeah, I mean, I think that they are. I've heard them described as thrashcore by somebody once, which I don't think is too far away from their sound. But I think it's somewhat limiting as well because they have done albums which I think are bringing in other things as well, like atmospheric breaks. Some you get these moments where just suddenly they bring in this kind of epic sound with a bit of synth and stuff and pads and all that kind of thing.
Okay.
Just to give their music a bit more of an atmosphere than I think it would otherwise have. And when they bring in those moments and they hit, they're actually really quite clever in the songs. And I'm thinking Cycle of Suffering even has a bit of that in it. And there's just a lot of. I think they are. A quite expansive band with what they do. I think Josh is better when he's just allowed to be free flowing and creative. I think it brings out some really good stuff.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's I tell you what, like genres are just broken these days. It's nothing like it was back in the day.
Yeah, I sometimes struggle with subgenres.
Oh god, and then there's like subgenres on subgenres on. Yeah. Genres are just a complex one. Everyone, we like to classify things, but it's just being human. But at the same time, it's like when it comes to music, it don't happen that easy.
Yeah, I think I always envy those reviewers that have a bit of music theory knowledge behind them because you can always revert to that more. I think if you don't have a great broad knowledge of music theory, which I don't really, to be honest, I know some basics, but I don't have the broad knowledge you need, really, I think, to sometimes expand beyond the sort of world of just description and genres and all that sort of thing.
If I could use my vocabulary better, I would do better.
Exactly.
Oh yes, definitely musical talent would help with that regards. I wish I was the same, mate. I just play a little bit of bass. The only reason I chose that was because I had 4 strings instead of 6.
Awesome.
Oh gosh, so we have a hard decision to be made, I guess, in regards to all of these 3 bands. Actually, wait a second. You mentioned that there was a connection between all 3 bands. I know there was the connection of the singer there between Sylosis and Architects. What was the connection with Sleep Token, though?
Well, all I know is that they have supported Architects on a tour. So yeah, I guess they're not quite all 3 connected as a triangle as such. Although I'm sure maybe they have toured or been on the same festival lineups or something. So there maybe is an element of connection. Otherwise, I suppose. But I'm convinced that there's definitely connections between the 3, but there may not be all kind of one connection between all 3, I suppose, as such. But,
Gotcha. All right. So we've got a tough decision to be made here with who to see live, who to listen to forever, and then, of course, who to erase. So let's weigh these ones up here. I mean, I'm just going to go immediately and say, Sleep Token, you're erased. Get out of here. Given the list of bands there, I would erase Sleep Token purely because I've listened to one album and said, yeah, this album sucks. So
a nice easy one.
Yeah, rolled out the easy one first of all. It's just the next 2, I guess, that are complicated because the way you've mentioned Sylosis, sorry?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, the
Yep.
way you've talked about them, and you've seen them 3 times as well. So obviously they're a band worthy of really hearing. I feel like, if I was to listen to them forever purely based on your description, it sounds like it might be worth it. But then at the same time, I'm doing a massive risk here by doing such an event.
Yeah, well, architect's probably better, don't you? So I can see that it's a difficult one. It's hard to
Yeah,
judge something on something you don't really know much. Yeah.
yeah, it's a complicated one there. I kind of feel like I'd love their music better. You know what? I was thinking just a second ago. I'm like, oh, maybe Sylosis would be live, but I don't. From the description of the music you told me, I think they'd probably be better off for me to listen to. Oh
Yeah,
damn!
yeah. Tricky one.
Oh damn! That's a yeah, that's a sticky situation here. No, you know what? I'm gonna do a I'm gonna do a risky maneuver here and just say I'm gonna go listen to Sylosis. Yeah, I think I would.
Yeah, I would say pretty good choice.
I'd be curious. The way that
Yeah.
the music would play out. Oh yeah, but am I? At least I have heard Architects. Nah, fuck it. I'd want to see Architects live. I've heard so much about them.
Yeah.
They sound like a really good band there to be watching live. Yeah, I think that'd be it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Sleep Token gone. Architects live, and Sylosis. Yeah, I'd listen to Sylosis. Yeah. So, what about your decision for this list?
Okay, so I think I would. I think I'm with you. I think I would erase Sleep Token. Um,
Take that, you overhyped
I
pit. Nah.
I know, I know, but not so. Probably not as readily as I would a few weeks ago. I think a few weeks back when everyone was going
Mm,
crazy about them. There's nothing worse than sort of just hearing one band's name constantly and no other bands for a
mm,
period of time. And that's for me, that was like a bit like what happened with Spirit Box in 2021, where there was so much hype about the Spirit Box album.
yeah.
It's the same sort of phenomena for me with what happened with the Sleep Token, but I don't erase them without a certain amount of regret now having discovered their previous album and liking that quite a bit. So it's not as easy a decision as I thought it was going to be, a little while ago before hearing the previous album.
Never is.
But yeah, but as contrasted to my history with the two other bands, it's just a personal decision to erase Sleep Token.
Oh yeah, 100%. I can understand
Yeah.
that. I can understand that. I really can. I feel like I'll go back and I'll listen to that album, uh, that second one, and I'll be like, oh shit, why did I erase them? It's exactly like a Baroness
Like,
situation all over again.
oh yeah, yeah. So in terms of who I'd see live,
Mm,
this is a bit trickier. But interestingly, I would have loved to have seen Architects live back with the Soul Brothers, back when they were kind of.
mm,
I don't want to sort of insult the band and say in their prime, but I feel like the time to see Architects was in some of that early 2010s, mid 2010s era before
yeah.
Tom passed away, when they had their kind of that core set up there and everything was just, you know, I think working really well. They'd established themselves and they just had a great following. And I'd heard all sorts of things about how good Architects were live, um, from their fans and from a couple of friends who I think, and it's one of my regrets that I never have seen them
Yeah.
um, live. I'm not sure so much now whether I want to see them with their more recent material as much, to be honest. So
Mm,
I'm going to say Architects live, even though that's with a slightly historical angle. I think I in a way I'd still probably would go to see them live if there was an opportunity to. I'd see them live. I think, and seeing Sylosis 3 times. They're a great live band. They perform everything almost down to a T live, but their set lists live weren't quite, I thought, as good as they could have been live when I've seen them.
uh,
Um, So that's why my decision is Architects Live. I think that leaves Sylosis, who I would have as my listen to forever. And I probably gave that away during our discussion because I love a lot of their material. They've not done a bad album. They've not really done a subpar album. I think their first album is probably my least favourite, but even that's good and solid. I think they, from the edge of the earth right to Cycle of Suffering, they have there's some seriously good stuff there, with some lots of wow kind of guitar riffs and solos and impressive songs. So yeah, Sylosis, I'm going to save it or listen to forever.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, and that's like the perfect way, I guess, to conclude we'll come up with a decision in regards to that one. A difficult list, and you say logically, but I know it's not. But you know, you kind of narrowing it down, just going, oh yeah, you know, like if I could see Architects in the early, like you said, the early 2010s when they were probably the red hot, I could watch them on live performance there. Yeah, I would probably go back and check that out. And I guess just the way you describe Sylosis there, you sold me. You sell cars by any chance?
No, I don't. Not a salesperson really, but yeah.
Nice.
You'll probably listen to Sylosis now and you'll hate them.
I'll message you later after the episode. Be like, what the fuck did I do this for?
What? Why did I listen to Sylosis? I should have listened to Architects Forever. You'll be saying. Or you'll listen to the previous Sleep Token album and you'll love it so much.
Yeah, I'll be like, I should have listened to this.
Apology video. You'll be doing an apology video to all the Sleep Token fan base.
I doubt it, but actually, you know what? When I did that episode, I just thought I was going to cop a bit of flack, but nah. You know what? Sleep Token fan base are pretty cool about it, so
it's good.
A lot of people love Sleep Token. I feel like you don't get a fan base that's so loyal without good reason. So, unfortunate, but hey, that's the decisions that we came up with, I guess. Well, this has been a fantastic episode. Great list there, Tom. Guys, make sure to check out Tom's channel. He's the Green Man, does plenty of music reviews, movies, as well as books. Tom, thank you for being on this episode, this special Ashes episode, I should say, of Liveless and Erased.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
No problem.
And as always, people, make sure you do the socials, like the video, subscribe if you can, and as always, you have a great day and stay spicy. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Liveless and Erased. And if you have enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it with all your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our Chili Con Carnage crew so you can get notified for all the future videos that we put out, as we put out videos every Friday. Also, we are on Discord, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter over at Live Listen Erase, so make sure to tune in over there. And don't forget to like this video so that our manager can stay very happy.